You know that moment when a friend cancels plans and you feel that hot flash of anger before you even hear the reason? Or when someone in the group chat gets exciting news and your first instinct isn't happiness, it's this weird, itchy feeling you can't quite name? Yeah, we need to talk about that. Here's the thing nobody tells you about toxic people. They never think it's them. Ever, you've spent your whole life sorting people into categories. The clingy friend, the flaky friend, the one who always makes everything about them. But there's one category most people never check. The friend who is doing the exact same thing. And what if, just for the next few minutes, that friend was you? Stick with me. This isn't a call out, it's a mirror. And sometimes a mirror is the most useful thing a friend can hand you. Nobody films themselves doing the toxic thing. Nobody posts a story that says currently punishing a friend for something they don't know they did. It happens in the small, quiet moments. The pause before you reply. The comment you almost made but didn't. We're covering 5 signs today. 5 patterns that quietly turn you into the person your friends complain about behind your back, and by the end you might owe someone a text. Let's get into it. Sign 1. You keep score without announcing it. You remember who paid for coffee last time? You remember who didn't text back fast enough. You remember with frightening precision the exact number of times you initiated plans versus the exact number of times they did. And you never say any of this out loud. You just let it simmer. Picture this. A friend forgets your birthday. You don't say anything. You just quietly downgrade them in your head, like a customer service rating system nobody agreed to. 3 months later, they ask why you seem distant. You say no reason, you're lying. There is a very specific reason. It's dated and time-stamped in your memory, filed away like evidence for a trial that's never going to happen. Here's what makes this one sneaky. Keeping score feels responsible, it feels like paying attention, like being aware of who shows up for you, but real friendship isn't a ledger. Nobody's supposed to be balancing the books. Keeping invisible scorecards doesn't make you a good friend who's just been hurt. It makes you a landmine. People don't know where the lines are until they've already stepped on one, and by then you're already mad about something they didn't even know was being measured. Sign 2. Your empathy has an expiration date. You are incredible in a crisis. Someone's going through a breakup, a job loss, a family emergency. You show up, you're present, you say the right things at exactly the right moment. People love you in those moments. You become the friend they call at 2 a.m., the one who drops everything. But what happens when the crisis ends and life just goes back to normal for them? If you're honest, your interest kind of fades too. The daily check-ins slow down. The "how are you holding up" texts stop. You liked being needed more than you liked actually knowing them. The friend who's thriving and stable and, frankly, a little boring right now doesn't get the same energy from you as the friend who's falling apart. That's not deep loyalty. That's being addicted to the feeling of being essential. And it puts your friends in this strange position where the only way to keep your attention is to stay in crisis. Nobody wants to be loved like that. Nobody wants a friendship that only shows up for the highlight reel of their worst days. Sign 3. You test people instead of talking to them. Something's bothering you. Instead of saying it, you go quiet. You give shorter replies, just one word where you'd normally send 3 paragraphs and a meme. You wait to see if they notice. If they don't pick up on your mood within an acceptable window, that becomes more evidence against them. Another data point for the case you're secretly building. Here's a scenario: your friend says something a little insensitive at dinner. You don't correct them in the moment. You laugh along. Actually, everyone moves on, except you. You go home and stew. You replay the sentence in your head, adding new layers of meaning to it every time. The next time they invite you somewhere, you say you're busy. You're not busy. You're punishing them for a conversation they don't even know happened. Testing people is a control move disguised as patience. It lets you feel wronged without ever risking an actual conversation where you might be told you overreacted. And it's exhausting for everyone who has to guess what they did wrong because they usually never even find out. They just know something shifted. But here's where it gets interesting. None of these people think they're doing anything wrong. That's the twist. Toxic behavior rarely feels toxic from the inside. It feels like being sensitive. It feels like having standards. It feels like self-protection. The vampire never thinks it's a vampire. It just thinks it's hungry. And hunger from the inside always feels justified. Sign 4, compliments. Toward others physically pain you. Someone in the group gets promoted. Someone posts an engagement photo. Someone finally loses the weight they've been trying to lose for years. And in that split second before you comment, "so happy for you," there's a flicker. A tiny, uncomfortable tightness in your chest. Just for a second. Then it's gone. and you're typing the supportive comment like nothing happened. You still say the supportive thing. You're not a monster. But somewhere along the way, you started needing to be the best version of the group in order to feel okay. And when someone else shines, it doesn't add light to your life. It steals it, at least in your head. Even though logically, you know that's not how light works. This one's sneaky because it's invisible from the outside. You never say anything cruel. You just quietly change the subject a beat too fast. You bring up your own good news right after theirs, even if it's smaller, even if it doesn't really compare. Nobody can prove anything. There's no receipt, no quote you can point to, but they feel it. People are surprisingly good at sensing when a congratulations has a little too much effort behind it. Sign 5. You confuse being right with being kind. You're smart. You're perceptive. You can spot the flaw in someone's plan, the hypocrisy in their argument, the thing they're clearly in denial about, and you point it out every time, because someone has to say it. Right? Might as well be you, the self-appointed truth teller of the group, except being right in the moment and being a good friend in the long run are not the same skill. A friend group isn't a debate stage. Nobody's handing out trophies for the most accurate observation at brunch. Sometimes people just need you to say, "That sounds really hard," instead of, "Well, technically, you did bring this on yourself." If you're the friend people go to when they want a solution, but not the friend people go to when they just need to feel heard, that's worth sitting with. It might feel like you're the reliable one, the logical one, the one who doesn't sugarcoat things. But reliability without warmth just reads as judgment with extra steps. So, did any of that sting a little? Good. That's actually the point. Self-awareness feels uncomfortable right before it feels useful. Nobody wakes up and decides to be the toxic one. Nobody sets an alarm and thinks, "Today, I will keep secret grudges and test my friends emotionally." It happens slowly, through habits that felt reasonable in the moment. A grudge here, a test there. A flicker of jealousy you never examined because examining it felt worse than just ignoring it. The good news is, patterns you can name are patterns you can change. That's not a throwaway line. That's the entire point of this video. The friend who realizes they keep score can start saying the thing instead of filing it away for later. The friend who tests people can start asking a direct question instead of going cold and waiting to be noticed. The friend whose empathy has an expiration date can practice showing up on the boring days too. Not just the dramatic ones, none of this is permanent. It's just unexamined, and unexamined things have a funny way of staying exactly the same forever, unless someone at some point decides to look. So here's the real question out of these 5. Which one made you go quiet for a second? Which one did you recognize a little too fast? Drop it in the comments. Be honest. Nobody's watching except a bunch of strangers on the internet who are also probably guilty of at least one of these. That's the deal with toxic traits. They're never as rare as we'd like to think. If this made you a little uncomfortable in a good way, hit subscribe, because next time we're diving into the friend group member almost nobody suspects, the one who seems the nicest, might be exactly the one you should watch closest.